Good morning, VC. The Zonkman coming at you once again, aka the heavy metal redneck, coming at you with another video. What are we going to talk about in this video? First, want to say hello to Beth at B-Side Records. Hello, happy birthday. And this is, of course, is for your contest, Halloween in July contest. Um, yeah, why not? You know, Man, I love Halloween. Halloween's a great holiday. Used to probably be bigger on Halloween back in the day. Don't celebrate it as much as I used to, I guess. I used to get real excited about Halloween. So Halloween, great time of year. We'll celebrate it in July, even though it is hot as balls right now. Uh, but we're going to do some Halloween in July. Best contest, of course, B-Side Records. If you're not familiar with her channel, check it out. She loves soundtracks. Um, I wanted to talk about a few soundtracks I've been hearing you play recently that have just like kind of blown my mind and been like, oh man, I would love to have that on vinyl. It's The Never Ending Story. That was a great movie from my youth. Big Trouble in Little China, which is John Carpenter, and we're going to talk some more about some John Carpenter stuff because Halloween, of course. Um, let's see what. The Lost Boys soundtrack. Great movie back in the day. And just something that you played yesterday for Fourth of July, Rocky Four, Living in America by James Brown. So I remember having that cassette as a kid and wearing it slap out. So it's always cool. You kind of bring to mind soundtracks because I've listened to some soundtracks, but it's not like a staple of mine or anything like that. But it definitely brings up some memories and brings up some ideas of stuff that I need to go check out. So for we're gonna try to get on with it here and not drag on too long. It can be very long-winded, maybe not as much as others in the VC, but I'm still new to the VC, so I'm trying to figure this thing out. I do have a little something playing in the background. Hopefully, it's not loud enough to get copyright dinged by YouTube, but maybe you guys hear a little bit of it anyway. So I'm going to get right to the questions. First question for Beth and her Halloween in July contest is favorite scary movie or movie in the fall, which scary movies, big on scary movies. Actually, probably the wife is probably bigger on the scary movies than the Zonkman. She watches all that classic stuff from the 80s where you talk about like Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, all that stuff with a gazillion sequels. Um, and I remember, watching those movies with her and, we were watching, I don't even remember the movie, but we were watching a movie and of course the killer was chasing them and the person goes right past the front door and back up the stairs, and I'm starting laughing hysterically. This is fun. And Mrs. Zonkman's looking at me and like, "What are you laughing at?" I was like, "Oh man, it's hilarious." They just went right by the front door and went running back up the stairs. I was like, they deserve to die. They're gonna get killed. She's like, "Oh, you're so stupid." I was like, so now I call them comedies. So I'm going to show you some great comedies for Beth at B-Side Records. We're going to start with the original classic that changed the faith of horror, Night of the Living Dead. This is definitely a classic. This is probably some DVD, digitally remastered from 2000 maybe. Is what it says on there. George A. Romero, classic stuff. Night of the Living Dead. I'm going to show more than one. I kind of, get a little excited about the horror film stuff. And here's Johnny, who needs no introduction. I'm not talking about John Carpenter. Little Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Stanley Kubrick's depiction of the Stephen King novel. Jack Nicholson plays Jack Torrance. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. Something maybe I saw uh, not real recently, but way since the movie came out, was Stephen King talking about, really, he was just open and about selling out whenever you have Hollywood come and turn your book into a movie. You got to kind of sell out, you lose control, that sort of thing. But he said probably his uh, worst adaptation of any of his books ever that were turned into a movie. He said he hated the way Stanley Kubrick did The Shining. So that was number one on his list of worst depiction of his novels. But Stephen King, another great horror, so you got to show some of him. In fact, I'm doubling up on the Stephen King. The Mist. This I thought was a great movie, maybe missed by some of y'all. Um, it's a Frank Darabont, which if you're familiar with him, he was associated with the Walking Dead series or whatever. But what was cool about this movie is this movie had I think three of the actors of The Walking Dead were in this movie, The Mist. They were in the grocery store with them when they were kind of on lockdown from The Mist. Even says on here, a masterpiece, one of the most shocking movie endings ever. And I actually thought it was, sorry about the glare, there's some glare rocking in there. I actually thought this was a great ending to a movie. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. So if you haven't seen The Mist, you're either going to love the ending or you're going to hate the ending, because it is not your typical Hollywood ending at all. So that's probably why I'm showing The Mist on there. Another one, maybe you guys don't even consider it as like a scary movie, but got to throw some Quentin Tarantino up there, some Death Proof. Got the Hot Rod. This was just an awesome movie as far as being suspense thriller with the car. The Hot Rod. Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof. Let's see. And I know Beth is going to love this one. Of course, we're riding around back to our John Carpenter here. I'm not going to show Halloween or anything that you might suspect right off the bat. But Beth has this on her channel. There's a picture of this which says B-Side Records. That, of course, is the '58 Plymouth Fury that is Christine. Classic John Carpenter right here. Oh man, love this movie as a kid. Uh, awesome movie. I'm sure all y'all seen that. Christine. So yeah, I guess that's it for the movies. Let's see. What is the question number two? Favorite Halloween candy? It's actually real easy to probably just show some candy. Boom. What do you get out of the Halloween bag first? Boom. Little Reese's peanut butter cups. Um, Always love Reese's. That is what dug out of the Halloween bag first as a kid and even as an adult, stealing it from the daughter's Halloween candy also. But a little bit to go, maybe a little bit more in depth, talk about some candy. I got a stupid little story. Um, I grew up in a rural area, out in the country. So we was out in the country. So it wasn't real fun to go a quarter of a mile just to get to the next house for some Halloween candy. So we always went into town, into the big city at Grandma and Grandpa's house in their neighborhood. So that was many, many years of trick or treating and just getting a ton of candy. And to talk specifically about the candy, Dad would always take us trick or treating, and we would probably have those. Remember those little stupid orange round pumpkin things? We would have one of those, and those actually they held a lot of candy, but they didn't hold a lot of candy. So Dad would take like pillowcases for each of us too, and so when we would get so much full, we would dump it in the pillowcase for each of us, and then we would keep going trick or treating with that orange pumpkin thing. So then when you show up at the house and you got like nothing, they're like, "Oh, you need some more candy. You just started trick or treating and it's late," or something like that. And we would trick or treat till it's late. Being a kid, 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock, and you're still out there trick or treat, maybe even after 10. I remember a lot of times back then, people would just put the bowl of candy out on the porch and say, "Please take one," or something like that. These people have already went to bed, and we're still out there trick or treating. So even if it was a school night, we would trick or treat late. So I remember that. So now I'm talking about this story of having this pillowcase full of candy. Whoa, say it, don't spray it. So the pillowcase is, I don't know, it's over half full, a pillowcase full of candy. And of course, all the candy bars, all this stuff gets uh, taken out first. But I'm really dragging this question out. Most people show a candy bar and keep going. But I remember as a kid having my Halloween candy, and I would always dig for my Halloween candy from time to time. Well, when my mother found my Halloween candy around Easter of the following year, she's like, "You got to throw this away." And I'm like, "No." Granted, it's all down to like the Mary Janes and all this other stuff that didn't care for. That's why it's down to those the sweet tarts and stuff like that. That was kind of, well, I'll eat this, if that's all I got, type of thing. But anyway, I just want to tell that stupid story about still having. We did crazy trick or treating. We still had Halloween candy at Easter. So all right, on to the next question. Oh, I like this. This was actually kind of hard at first, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute. Favorite John Carpenter score for one of his movies. And of course, Beth has given away the Halloween score on vinyl, which is awesome. Do not have that. That would be real cool. But my favorite John Carpenter score is going to be something that probably isn't shown by a lot of people. They might not care for it, probably didn't care for the movie, um, and maybe didn't care for the music either, but is Ghosts of Mars. And whoa, I got major glare here with the CD, and I'm showing the CD because I don't have the vinyl. I don't, I didn't even research to see if the vinyl had been released for this because this was a 2000 or 2001 movie. But I want to talk about this some more because, of course, this movie, Ice Cube, Natasha Henstridge, an early Jason Statham, where he was more of a supporting actor, a little Pam Grier in there, and Clay Duvall there on the cover. Cool soundtrack or score rather. And I wanted to open this up because Johnny C, he talks a little bit about it. I just want to read you guys some about it. I'm pulling this out. Little Johnny C there. He talks about Ice Cube actually got me thinking about a new way to approach scoring Ghosts of Mars, my 14th soundtrack as a composer. He suggested I worked with Pro Tools, a computer software for sound design. Then it says, okay, after hooking up with blah, 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 to basically get the production going. In essence, the score for Ghosts of Mars is techno inspired as well as drenched in heavy metal. And that's why the Zonkman loves the Ghosts of Mars soundtrack or score, is because it's got that heavy metal flair on it. Um, in terms of metal, I knew immediately that I needed the services of Anthrax. Yeah, Scott Ian, Paul Crook, Frank Bello, and Charlie. I always mess up his last name. Charlie Benante, of course, is the drummer for Anthrax. Um, played the tracks with such fury that my synth underscoring sounded like Muzak, and he kind of spelled it oddly or whatever. Additionally, Steve Vai, so that's another one for you metalheads out there. It's got some Steve Vai on it. Elliot Easton, Buckethead is on here. Get some Buckethead action going. Robert Fink, Brad Wilson, Joe Robb, JJ Garcia, Brian James, and Bucket Baker helped me get this thing on its feet. And he also says, he said, and what did Ice Cube think of my score? Question mark. He said, I don't really know for certain, but I'm told he thought it sounded like 70s music. Fair enough, but I must thank him for his inspiration. So that's real cool. Ice Cube was in this movie, helped inspire John Carpenter for how he went about doing the score. Show some more pictures in there, so we can show a few cool things here with the compact disc. There's a little bucket head. There's Scott Ian. Uh, Charlie on the drums there, which is Anthrax guy. That dude's cool as hell. Right now, he has got a little thing going with Carla. Man, I'm trying to think of her name. Carla of Butcher Babies. So that's cool. They got a little thing going there. Little Steve Vai. Well, there's some movie stuff. Bam, show that. Back there, showing Ice Cube, Natasha, and Jason Statham there. Of course, Ice Cube they were transporting a prisoner. Maybe not his greatest movie. I thought it was cool, like the concept. But anyway, definitely if you're a metalhead, check out the soundtrack. Just go sample it on YouTube or whatever. Go some Mars. That's my answer to that for the John Carpenter score. Then we got favorite costume. This is kind of hard. Just kind of talk about it more Zonkman rambling. And I got a Halloween story to tell. Um, Basically, my costume was the Grim Reaper. The Zonkman like dressing up as the Grim Reaper. Actually, did it for quite a few years. Had that costume. That costume's long gone. I don't even know where it's at anymore. But the Zonkman like the Grim Reaper. At one time, I even had the nickname Rip for Rest in Peace. So one of the many nicknames the Zonkman had. But basically, the story about the favorite costume, I remember originally being a little older. In fact, I was 22 years old if I did the math right. Me and my brothers are younger than I am, way younger. They could have been in middle school, maybe like a junior high. Maybe one of them was in high school, one of them was in junior high. And it's like, hey, we're going to dress up and we're just going to like maybe scare the kids at grandma's and give out candy, that sort of thing. Nothing. We kind of just went on the fly. We didn't really plan anything, or we just went down there and we're going to give out candy and scare the kids. So I'm in the Grim Reaper costume. My grandparents had this crazy huge magnolia tree in their front yard. So, and I always called it more of a bush because if you guys know how those things are, the limbs grow way close to the ground. So I'm like hiding in this magnolia tree, and you can see my boots and part of my costume or whatever, the Grim Reaper. And I might not even like jump out at any of the kids or anything. I might just stand there. So I think that's even creepier. You're coming up to this house. It's not crazy decorated with a bunch of Halloween stuff. There might be just a Halloween decoration on the door, the porch lights on. That's the only reason they're giving out candy. And you're kind of walking up, and I would always see like a few of the middle-aged kids, maybe middle school, elementary school. They'd be pointing, like they could see my feet, and then I would never jump out. I always thought that was creepier than actually jumping out and trying to scare them. But anyway, my youngest brother, he like is just crazy giving out candy. He's probably thinking, man, it would have been cool when I was a kid if they would just give out like a candy bar, each a candy bar of each style. So he's just giving handfuls of candy. So grandma's candy's getting low, and it's like still way early in Halloween. So I've got a big confession here to make. Yes, at 22 years of age, that was the last time that I officially went trick or treating door to door. So, but our mission here is, I'm not going to go down to the drugstore and go buy some last minute candy, by the time you go down and come back, that sort of thing. So I said, what do we do? We're just going to trick or treat for more candy to hand out. So I go with my other brother, and we just do like a block and a half or something, and kind of whatever houses on the way back to grandma's house. But I remember across the street, we might, and I'll just because I don't remember the elderly gentleman's name, I will call him Mr. Smith. So we go up trick or treat. Here I am in the Grim Reaper costume. I don't know. My brother had some costume with the face half melted off or something, and just some kind of ghoul or something. And he even says he's like, "Aren't you boys a little old to be trick or treating?" And my brother like pulls his mask half up and said, "Hey, Mr. Smith, it's the Benders. We gave all of Grandma's candy away, so we're just trick or treating for more candy to give away." So I just thought I'd tell that little story. That's kind of a funny little story about trick or treating at the age 22. Maybe for you, Beth, tell me when was the last time you trick or treated? How old were you? All right, so we went rambling on that favorite costume. Let's go with the next one. Song with fall in the title. And I wanted to show some vinyl for this. I wanted to go digging, but really this one song popped in my head. I was like, nah, I've got the CD. I'm not gonna show that. And then I'm just like, nah, that's the one I'm gonna show. That's the one that popped into my head. Totally not Halloween related. I Mother Earth. Dig is the album. And let's see, Rain Will Fall is the third track. These guys came out in 93. It's a 93 release. We're going to take this out. So they were kind of like clumped into maybe the grunge sound, but not really the grunge sound. Maybe I'll show a little bit better there. Rain Will Fall for the lyrics, or here in the track listing, Rain Will Fall number 3. Maybe that's a little bit better picture for that. Real cool band. I don't even know much about them. Need to do some more digging. It would be cool to find this album on vinyl, being it came out in '93. So boom, there's the song with fall in it, and I'm doing some like extra credit for Beth. Hopefully she'll dig this. This is Michael Myers doll, and this is uh, was some kind of limited edition. 11,960 out of 100,000 bazillion, because you could probably still find these things on eBay for cheaper than they were retail. But you can press a little Michael Myers there, get that going. It's got blood on his knife. This thing's kind of cool. Turn around on the back. Boom, there's the original Scream Queen, Jamie Lee Curtis. Always got a thing for her. In fact, Mrs. Zonkman kind of looks like we say favors Jamie Lee Curtis. This thing opens up here, tells a little bit about the Michael Myers story. Got they got the dude shooting him falling through at the balcony or whatever that was in the movie, and then him laying out there on the out in the yard before they go to the next clip where he's gone. But anyway, that's just a little extra credit to throw in for best contest, Halloween in July. Got to do a cheers. We'll do a cheers. Got to show Monster since we're doing Halloween in July. For the Zonkman, it's Halloween every day. Drinking the Monsters. Cheers. Throw a cheers out there. Tunes from the Man Cave. Thank you, Beth, for a great channel. Um, this is my entry. Hope y'all had a great 4th of July yesterday. Watch some shit blow up. Hopefully, you still got all your fingers and thumbs. Show that in there. Zonkman didn't blow any off. All right. You guys have a great day. Later.